Hey guys, it's Kevin Gismer for the season premiere of The Leftovers, Season 2, Episode 1, Axis Mundi. Now, season premiere, of course, I said that. This didn't feel like a season premiere, though. It really didn't. If you guys know, it has been so long since the show has been on. This show hasn't been on since, last September. That is a very long time. I mean, it was in the summer. I mean, it's been a long time since the show has been on. But I was definitely interested in this episode because I heard they were changing things up. I heard things were going to be very different this season. And honestly, yeah, things are extremely different because this episode kind of felt like a second premiere. It kind of felt like a second chance. I mean, the tagline of the season is begin again, and that's kind of what this season did. It kind of felt like a second pilot, which I thought was really cool. And I definitely really love that. And I honestly thought that I really loved Season 1, I have to say. But I thought this was better than everything we've seen in Season 1. Yes, we did see some characters that we've seen in the show before. But I honestly feel that you don't have to watch the rest of the show to understand this episode. You really don't, because we get new characters in this episode. We had a new story in this episode. And I overall thought it was a very compelling premiere. And I'm very interested in seeing where we will go with this episode. So, let's just get to the beginning, which was just, it was mesmerizing. The beginning of this episode was beautiful. I know some people might think it was weird, but it really tied into the rest of the episode. We see this Texas town named Jarden, and we're in what looks like prehistoric times, and basically there's this fire, and this woman is sleeping near this fire, and this prehistoric times and everything, so she's obviously naked. And an earthquake then hits the cave, and she calls home, and basically she's running for shelter. Her water breaks. She has no idea what to do at this point. She gives birth at a nearby lake, and basically that's actually how we start this episode. And then we see that this woman is basically trying to do whatever she can to care for this kid on her own. She's trying to get this kid the food that they need and the resources that they need. But she's then attacked by a snake, and she gets a really nasty snake bite, and she ends up dying from it days later, and the child is then taken in by a woman who's wandering and sees it abandoned, and that's how this episode started, with this beautiful, it went on for about 9 minutes, and I thought it was really cool. There was no dialogue in this scene, but I think it's one of the most compelling things The Leftovers has done. It had so much symbolism in it and really went with the rest of the episode, because then we see in the present, this is really when we start to get into things. We meet the character of Evie Murphy, and her friends, they are jumping into that same lake that the woman had her baby in. Now, for the next 37 minutes, we focus on this new family called the Murphys. And this was a very risky choice because these are new characters. We haven't seen them before on this show. It feels like we're watching a different show, but the thing was that these characters were so good, I have to say. I really love the new characters we were introduced to in this episode. Basically, we can tell that her friends are very rebellious. She sees someone cleaning the lake. She asks if he's new. He says he didn't hear and asks him his name. He says his name is Mr. Goodheart. His first name is Brian. And she tells him her name, and she asks if she pees in the lake, will it throw it off his measurements. And her friends say to leave him alone. She's scaring him, and she tells them to shut up, and they get out of the lake. She fills a bottle of water from it. They say goodbye to Brian. They get out of the car and pull up to Evie's house, and the girls say goodbye to Evie as she goes home, and we then meet her brother Michael, who's the complete opposite of her. You can tell he's a lot more responsible. He doesn't enjoy her antics pretty much, and I definitely thought that was a good way to start things. Basically, he takes the water from her, and she tells him he's no fun. He doesn't seem amused at what she's doing at all. In fact, he seems kind of pissed off at what she's doing. So she asks if her parents are up, and Michael says that their mom is up, and we meet their mom, Erica, played, of course, by Regina King, and who was amazing in this episode. And she asks Evie how the sleepover was, and if she got any sleep, and she asks if she wants her to lie, and Erica asks if she took her meds, and Evie says sorry. And she asks if she has a ride for choir practice. She says she does. She drinks from the water. And as you guys can tell, this family's pretty normal. It's pretty much the complete opposite of the Garveys. This is a family that clearly does have values, clearly is brought up right, and it's pretty much the complete opposite of what we've seen in the show. So I really like seeing a more normal family. It's something that you don't normally see on any cable drama for that matter. So she tries to take some breakfast, but Erica says to wait for their father, John, and she asks where he is. She says he's still in bed, which he apparently does a lot, and we get this really funny scene of them trying to wake up John, do whatever they can to wake him up. He's sound asleep, she's trying to clap. They start stacking things on top of him. It falls over, and that wakes him up, and whoever played John, amazing in this episode. Honestly, amazing, and honestly, if he were to become the main character of this show, I'd honestly be fine with that, because he was phenomenal. So they tell him to get up. The family then eats breakfast, and they are pretty much normal, except for this annoying cricket that John is pissed with. He gets up to try to find it, which he apparently does a lot, and it's a very funny scene. I mean, he's just obsessed with this cricket, and he wants to find it, and I thought that was pretty funny. So Michael then rides his bike down the street, and and this is when we start to realize that this town is not as, normal as we imagine. There's a big crack in part of the street under glass, and it's probably from the earthquake that happened many years ago. There's a crack there, and we now see that the town is called Miracle, and there's a homeless man standing at the top of the building. Michael goes to feed this man eggs and bacon, which he seems to like, and we see around town everyone sells things to promote Miracle, and that's a town that is the only place with that is the only place with no departures whatsoever, and therefore they've pretty much not been affected. But people are constantly selling things to promote this town, so people will go there, and there's even t-shirts that say Miracle, Texas, population 2,191, I think it's called, and then departures none. So I think it definitely is very interesting we saw that. And Michael has a sign all about religion and sells the spring water in hopes of recruiting them. And a man announces a bus is coming in and many people arrive, and obviously people are going to want to go there because it's the safe place. It's the place where departures won't happen and they don't have to worry about them possibly disappearing. So a German comes up to Michael's stand and asks how much. He says it's however how much they want to give. She asks if this is a test, and he says it's not. She asks if the water will make them safe. He says it's just a souvenir, and he says church service is 18 hours by the marker, and services take place an hour before the bus leaves. They leave kind of uninterested. You can tell they're not really that interested, and John then pulls up to her house, and this is when we start to definitely get more into John's character. We really do get into every character in this episode, which I definitely really love, but John specifically is a character that we gotta watch out for. Basically, he goes to this house, and there's a line for it, and despite there being a line, he just goes right on in, and we see a man and a woman talking about how much something is worth, and the man says it's 140, and John goes to meet them, and the man's name is Isaac, and he says he didn't mean to interrupt, and Isaac says they're just finishing up. He tells the woman to wait after Thanksgiving. She thanks him, and he talks about the line outside, and how business must be doing well, and John says he hears he's renting out his top floor, and Isaac says he filled out all the paperwork with park services, and they said okay. And John says if this is going to be a two-family residence, fire code says upstairs needs a separate entrance and its own exterior stairwell. And this is when we kind of find out that John's a fireman, and that I thought that was definitely interesting. But Isaac says he can get that done in a couple weeks, and John says that's no problem as long as it happens, and he says let's do his thing, and he asks for a reading. And we realize that Isaac is sort of a preacher, psychic of types. That's kind of what he is, and he sets it up, and he says he has a good one, and basically he puts his print down, and Isaac asks if he has a birthday coming up. John says the day after tomorrow, and he wishes him a happy birthday. However, Isaac then sees something in the reading that disturbs him, and he doesn't want to tell John, but John demands to know what's there, and Isaac basically tells him that something horrible is going to happen, and he doesn't know what it's going to be. And John's saying, oh, that's not ideal and everything. And for the rest of this episode, John is completely just paranoid the entire episode, which is understandable. I mean, if you hear something bad is going to happen, you obviously are worried what's going to happen. And John says they have known each other since the 3rd grade, and that time he has never once mentioned him that he has superpowers, and Isaac says he doesn't. John says it's magical powers, and he asks to reveal what it means, and he says it's all bullshit. He doesn't believe a second of this, and Isaac says he doesn't know what he wants him to tell him, and John says he wants to know the truth. He says what he does is real, and John looks upset. He says he respects that, asks how much he owes him. He pays him 60, and Isaac tells him be careful. And you can tell that John, while he's acting happy, isn't really happy. He seems kind of pissed, honestly, at what just happened. So Evie is at choir practice. She sings a solo, and the song is all about Miracle, Texas. It's kind of like the national anthem for Miracle, Texas, and I thought that was definitely quite interesting. So Evie then pictures her friends and her running around the forest naked, but she's actually just playing catch with John. And I don't really know what that's supposed to show. There's definitely some deep symbolism there, but I can't really tell what they're trying to show there. And she tells him a joke, then says it's pointless. And John then goes, and I thought that was pretty funny. And John then goes with some guys, and they're firefighters, and he has some sort of a plan for Isaac. He knows he's lying, he doesn't buy it, and they go inside Isaac's house, they break in, and John then rips the reading, and Isaac tells him to stop. John says he understands, Isaac says it's all bullshit. John sets the reading on fire. Isaac says he will not leave his house, and he will have to kill him. They literally throw him out of the house. He's, like, bludgeoned. It's really sad. They leave him outside. And we don't really know what's going on with John. We know he definitely is a firefighter, but it's pretty obviously he's only a firefighter, so that way he won't get caught at, doing these horrible things. And definitely that was very, very interesting, because I don't know what's going on with John, but definitely there's something that he's hiding. We don't know what it is, and it doesn't seem like he believes in religion really at all. And Isaac is then taken to the hospital and realizes that Erica actually works there. And she tells him that he will need stitches and she can do it herself, or he can get plastic surgery. And he says he was born here and deserved to be here. And Erica says he should have told the truth. He says to tell John he meant what he said and there ain't no avoiding it. And Erica asks what he means. And basically, we then realize that Erica's actually deaf and she has hearing aids. And so she can hear. And she wakes him in the middle of the night and puts them in. I thought that was really interesting that we saw that. I mean, I thought she was going to be, deaf and have to do sign language. And I was just thinking, she doesn't do sign language because she wears hearing aids. She can understand them. So she wakes up in the middle of the night, puts them in. She goes up for a run and sees Isaac's house burned down. She goes into the woods, finds a box with a bird in it, and sets it free. And basically, John continues to look for the cricket, which Erica's annoyed with. And he says he got out of bed so he could join them for church. So, again, he's clearly hiding some because he just made it seem like he didn't like church in the last episode. And then he completely is against it. So Michael reads something from the Bible, and he says they are the 9,261 that are spared, and for that they are grateful. And the Reverend says that he will be getting surgery, and they should ask the Lord for powerful doctors and a powerful anesthesia, so he will miss a few sermons, but he's giving him a great replacement, and it's Matt. Matt is the replacement, and it was really cool to see Matt again, because then we realized, oh yeah, we're gonna have to see some sort of character from last season, because at this point we haven't, and I thought it was cool that they showed Matt first. Basically, he is friends with the Reverend, and he thanks them for all being there, and his wife, is there with him, but she still has a very bad stroke, and she seems to be kind of in a catatonic state, and he says that he's a man of faith, and when he heard about Miracle and what happened, he didn't understand at first, but he does now, and he says he wants them to know what has happened to all of them, to Mary, who he was told would never fully recover, and the Reverend just interrupts him right then and there. Clearly there's something that they don't want anyone to know about this, and says he knows how special the town is, and welcomes him there, and this is something I really like. While this town seems pretty perfect, there definitely is some sort of dark thing going on that they don't want anyone to find out about. And this is definitely something that you can tell is going on here. So after the service, everyone welcomes Matt, and John introduced himself to Matt, and Mary seems to be catatonic completely. She just doesn't say hi or anything. She pretty much is just like, and that's how she is the whole time. So I thought that was definitely very interesting that we saw that. Especially because we didn't see a lot of Mary. I don't think we really saw Mary at all last season, but we are here. And John asked what he was going to say up there, and he was going to share something about his wife. And Matt says he was going to say that he felt a burden when he came to their town for the first time in a long time. They feel safe. And John says there's no place in the world safer and tells him to take care. And basically, that's how that goes. So at a diner, John asks Michael why he picked the Bible verse, and Michael says that the readings are predetermined, and then we get a very strange scene. This man comes in with a goat and just decapitates it right then and there, and nobody really thinks anything of it. Clearly, this is common there. Now, why they mutilate these animals, we don't know, but why is he mutilating this goat? We don't know, and that's something I definitely found very interesting. Why is he doing this? This is definitely something that I want to find out in the next few episodes, is why this is going on. So, on TV, John then sees, if you guys remember last year, they kind of did this funny joke in The Leftovers where the entire cast of Perfect Strangers disappeared, and it turns out that one of them actually faked their departure and doesn't want to tell why he did it, and I thought it was a pretty funny scene. And John then notices that there's a hole in the, basically, he then notices the garbage disposal, his spoon falls down, and he doesn't want to put his hand there. He doesn't want to put his hand in it because obviously what Isaac said, that he said something bad's going to happen to him, so he's really worried at this point that something bad's going to happen to him with that garbage disposal. But Michael catches him, and John says his spoon got stuck in the garbage disposal. Michael pulls it out and tells John that he's going for a ride to give food to the homeless man. John says other people feed him, but Michael says that he likes Erica's cooking, and John tells him to be back by 10 o'clock and to stay safe, and John then thinks he hears the cricket again, and then it goes away, and Michael then goes to the homeless man who asked if he mailed the letter, and Michael said he did. And then we see that there are these two people that got off a bus. They're getting arrested, and they're getting tased, because apparently there are these bands that they have to wear, and they're not wearing them. So again, there's something else going on with this town. There's some dark conspiracy going on with this town that nobody wants to admit, and it seems it's probably normal to them because this is something that goes on all the time, but we don't really know what's going on here, and I think that definitely is very interesting the way we saw that. So, Michael knocks on the door of Isaac's new house and asks to pray, and basically, if he is going to do this, obviously John's going to get really pissed if he's realizing that his son is going to Isaac and doing this when he doesn't want him to, but I thought that was definitely very interesting. And I like how deeply religious Michael is, because John kind of seems like he is deeply religious when he's really not, and he doesn't support that at all, and I definitely thought that was interesting to watch. So John goes outside, sees a pile left on the doorstep, and there's a moving truck going by, and basically we realize that out of that moving truck, Kevin, Nora, Jill, and the baby step out of the car, and Kevin waves to John, and finally we are seeing where we left off last season, because as we know, last season, Kevin, Nora, Jill, and this baby, they met up, and they didn't really know where to go, and now we see them in this episode. Now, we don't really get much of what's going on with them. We do in a sense, but next week is going to be more of their episode. It's going to be more back to them being the main focus, and Erica asks where the pie came from, and he says it was on the porch, and who gave him this pie? I don't know. I want to say God gave him this pie. I kind of want to say that, but I honestly don't know. And she asks if it was for his birthday. He says he doesn't know if it's just a pie. And she asks what kind it is. He says he thinks it's apple. She says it's homemade. She jokingly has someone trying to poison him. And for a second, again, he's paranoid because, again, he's worried that something bad's going to happen to him. And he thinks she's serious. And he tells her family has just moved in, and he thinks that they should invite them over for dinner. And she says he's going to work on his birthday. He says he's just being neighborly, and it is kind of unexpected. He just met this family, and already he wants to invite them over. So John knocks on the door, and Nora answers, and Nora seems a lot more content with herself already. And I think this is genuine. I don't think she's hiding anything here. I think she just is a lot more content with herself than we've seen her be, and I definitely like seeing that, I have to say. Especially because we know how depressed she was and what she went through last season. So it's nice to see Nora actually kind of in a happy state. I like seeing that. So Nora answers, he says his name and that he lives right next door and gives her the pie. She introduces herself and he says he did not bake it, and we find out that the baby's name is actually Lily, and he invites them over for a barbecue for his birthday, and she says they don't want to crash it. He says to drop on over if they can. And Erica asks if he asked them, and he says he told them it was a barbecue. If they don't like meat, they can tell him. And Evie says that Violet, her friend, wants to know where she can pick her up. And John says to tell Violet she will text her as soon as he tells her to do so. The Garveys then show up and introduce each other. And Kevin asks if they're early since it's supposed to be a birthday party. And John says that they don't really have any friends. And they take it as funny, but it's also kind of sad. They don't really have many friends. And Evie and Jill seem to be getting, and from the scene, we kind of see how some of the character relationships are going to be, which I definitely really like seeing here. Evie and Jill seem to be getting along very well. They're probably going to click. But it also seems like Jill and Michael have this connection that is definitely going to be romantic. I really see Jill and Michael possibly dating. I definitely see that happening. Right away, you see some chemistry. You see Jill, she looks at him, and it definitely seems like they're trying to set something up between them, which I'd be fine with. I like seeing, and Jill as well seems a lot happier. She seems like she's having a lot more fun, especially when she was so depressing and upset last season. I mean, if you remember, she played that, suicidal game last season, and now she's here. I really like seeing that. Also, she's hot, too. I've said this before. Jill is hot, but they have wristbands on, and Evie tells Jill she doesn't need it anymore since they bought the house, and Jill says they were told to leave it on a couple weeks so the park rangers don't bother them. And again, we see that there's something going on with these wristbands, and we don't really know what it means yet. So Erica says Jill is good with it, and like I said, I like how we're getting little clues here and there, but they're not fully telling us what's going on. It's more of up to us to figure out what's going on. It kind of makes things a little bit more scary. And Erica says Jill is good with a baby. Nora says Jill is not hers. She's Kevin's daughter. And Erica asks if they have family around here. And she figured someone tipped them off about the house since real estate moves pretty quickly around there. Nora says they were in the right place at the right time. And she says she has a brother, Matt, and him and his wife are helping out the church. And Erica says she just met him yesterday. And basically, I really like that scene. And then Kevin says the cake looks good, and John says that Erica worked the grill and he bakes it. And he asks Kevin what happened to his head, and Kevin says that he fell. He puts beer in the fridge and asks if he wants one. He says he doesn't drink, but he can help himself. And he looks at his couch and he starts to space out. There clearly is something going on with Kevin here, but he says he was just admiring their couch because they have one just like it. But there definitely is more going on with that. I'm definitely going to say that I think it is definitely about that, but there definitely is more going on with Kevin. We don't know what it is yet, and that was definitely very interesting. So I like how from this scene we kind of figure out what's going on with them. We figure out some of the things that they've been through, but we don't fully know their story yet because their story is for next week. Why they're there, that's all for next week, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. But Erica then tells him a story about Evie messing with the bathtub, which apparently is a story she always tells and always gets a big laugh. And you know that story, you know how parents do this. They always tell those stories that get a big laugh and to attract people, and that's very much what Erica's doing here. And John then brings up that he was actually in prison for 6 years, and he's not kidding about this. He was in prison for 6 years and 119 days, and he says to go ahead and ask what he did since it's what everyone wants to know. And Nora says it's none of her business, but Kevin goes ahead and asks, and he says it was attempted murder, but he didn't try hard enough. And who he tried to murder, we don't know, but that was definitely very interesting. And they wish him a happy birthday, and Evie drops the cake, starts to space out, which apparently happens a lot, and she has epilepsy, and when she doesn't take her meds, she spaces out. And I like that we're getting little hints about, what's going on with these characters here and there. So Nora says to get the pie and asks John if he has any more candles, and he says he will go check, and Jill leaves with Evie's friends. Well, it seemed like she did at least. I don't know if she did. And they tell her to be back by 11 they tell her to be back by 11. The Garveys leave, basically, and you can see that there's some tension between Kevin and John. Even though it seems like they want to be friends, it already seems like there's some tension between them. John can tell that Kevin's hiding something, and Kevin can tell that John's hiding something. They definitely are both onto one another, and I already really like this tension here, which is something we did not have last season. We didn't have, someone that Kevin is really fighting with. The only person he was fighting with was the GR. That's really who he was fighting with last season, who was just as dark as him. And now we have this man who's a complete opposite of Kevin. You know, he doesn't drink, he is a good family man. His family's not destroyed like Kevin's is, and while you can tell that they're trying to pick up the pieces, definitely, I think it's interesting to see these two very different men have this conflict. So then then the episode takes a turn for the worse because an earthquake happens and many stuff starts to break. He goes to check on the kids and make sure they're okay. And this is why that first scene was so important, because of the earthquake and everything. But Evie is not in her bedroom and John's calling her. He's freaking out, obviously. She won't answer. He calls her friend's parents, finds out that her friend didn't come home either. Her friend Taylor didn't come home either. So that's strange. The phone rings, and Violet's father answers, not knowing if she's there either. And Michael thinks they're at the lake. Night swimming, and he tells Erica to stay there. She comes back, and Erica says that she's never done this before. And John says she'll come home, and him and Michael go and see Evie's car. There's no one inside, but there's music blasting her phone in the car. And Michael notices that there's no water in the lake, and John goes out for Evie. And yes, Evie is now disappeared. She's part of the departure. She's now gone, and I thought that was definitely very interesting. And now the Garveys are back. Now the departures are happening, and why they're happening, we don't know. But Erica sits down alone. She hears the cricket, and she's just terrified. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what's going to happen, and I thought that was an amazing way on the episode, and what an amazing premiere. I mean, this episode, again, while we know these characters, while we know some of these characters like Kevin and Nora and Jill, it was all in the Murphys' perspective, and it was something different than we had before. We have this new family, and honestly, if they're going to focus on this new family the entire season, I'd be fine with that. I honestly would. I know they're not going to, but I would be completely fine if they were to do that, because I think this family in itself is very compelling. And I really like the story that they're trying to tell here. Now, there's a lot of questions to ask, definitely. First of all, what the hell is going on with this town? I mean, they seem like this is a perfect town, but it's really not. Like I said, people are getting killed for not wearing these. People are getting, tased for not wearing wristbands. There's a big crack in the streets. People are just selling things. Definitely there's a bigger thing going on with this town that nobody really wants to reveal, and I think that definitely is very interesting. It really shows that even though this seems like the perfect place, it's not. It's kind of it's kind of worse. Why are they mutilating goats? I want to know that too. What does that have to do with anything? I don't really know yet. Let's talk about John. What the hell is John hiding? It seems like he is a normal family man, but then when he does things like burns down, Isaac's house because he is, pissed at him and doesn't really believe in his religion, I don't really know what he's hiding. There's clearly something that he's hiding. We don't really know what it is, and maybe it's tied to the prison thing. I don't know. We know he was in prison, so I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen with John as a character, because he definitely is very interesting. The family as a whole, by the way, all of them great, amazing performances. I really love the family. It took me about, I'd say, 2 minutes to really get into the family. I think they all are really great characters, definitely. Michael and Jill, do you think they're going to start something? I really see chemistry going on between Michael and Jill. You can already tell they're going to possibly start something there. But Kevin and John, like I said, these two are definitely onto each other. We don't know why, but Kevin is definitely hiding something, and as is John. And I definitely really like seeing that. Why is the departure happening again? Why was Evie taken? I'm not sure. We don't know why this is going on yet. There's clearly something more going on there. Matt seems really upset. Like, he seemed upset when he was before the Reverend cut him off. What is Matt, what is the Reverend not letting John say? Because Matt, what is the Reverend not letting Matt say? Because he told John he seemed happy, but then when he was going to actually say it, he seemed like really pissed about it. So there's clearly something that nobody wants him to reveal because maybe it'll make the town look bad. I don't know, but they don't want him to reveal that. I think it definitely is very interesting to see what happens with that. That's going to be very interesting, definitely. And also, I can't wait. Next week, it looks like we're going to focus back on Kevin, Nora, and Jill and how they got there, which is obviously something we need to figure out. Why the hell are they there? Why did they go to Jarden out of all places? Just randomly, why'd they go there? I mean, I get that it's a safe haven, but why would they just randomly show up there? Obviously, that's something we need to know. That's something that they need to tell us in the next episode, and I definitely really, really love this episode. It felt very different from season 1, but I really like that. It's a lot less darker, and I think a lot more people are going to be able to watch this show, because I know a lot of people stopped watching it was dark. And don't get me wrong, I really like last season, but I think where they're going this season is a lot more interesting, because now we have this town that hasn't been affected by departures, but now they suddenly are, and we don't know why. And that's something I think is definitely very interesting. And again, this really isn't a show that gives you answers. And I don't feel they're going to give us really that many answers this season either. Maybe for character motivations they will, but not really for the departure. We're not really going to know ever, I think, what's going on with that and why this is happening. I don't think we're ever going to. But I don't think this is the first disappearance. I think there definitely will be more as the season goes on. I'm definitely interested in seeing what they do with that. But that's basically my review. Let me know what you guys thought of this premiere. Overall, guys, I thought this was an incredible premiere. One of the best season premieres I have seen all year, definitely. It already feels like a different show, but that's one of the reasons why I loved it as much as I did, because it felt so different from season 1. And that's basically my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I absolutely loved it. I can't wait for next week's episode. And we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season premiere of Homeland. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.